All right, so standard equations of parabolas. So we're going to break our parabolas into two categories. One is the vertical parabolas. So by vertical parabolas, I mean that they're going to either open up or down. These are the ones that you're most used to seeing. So the equation for those is going to be parentheses x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. Now, normally, when we're writing in function notation, we're used to seeing the y on the left side of the equation. So notice, you could take these two sides, right, and just change left side and right side. And you could have 4p times y minus k equals the quantity, x minus h squared. But what you're going to notice here is that the x is the variable that's getting squared, right? That's what you want to pay attention to. So you want to pay attention to the fact that that little square is there with the x minus h. The y does not have a squared on it. So from this information, we want to look at what's the vertex, what's the focus, what's the directrix, and what is the axis of symmetry. These are going to be the four pieces of information that we're going to be looking at with these parabolas. So your vertex, it's a point on the parabola, and it is going to be HK. Now your focus is a point, but it's not on the parabola. Let's go back to our little guy that we made. Let's see where the focus is. So do you see that the focus has the same horizontal distance as the vertex? So if this vertex is at h on the x-axis, the focus must also be at h, right? But what's different about the focus is the vertical part. So if my vertex is here at k, my focus is up higher, right? And this distance in between is the letter p. So if the vertex is k, the focus is at k plus p. The vertical measurement of the vertex is k units. The focus is k plus p. The focus is higher than the vertex. All right. Our directrix is a horizontal line. So our directrix is going to be a line in the form of y equals something. And so we want to know the y value for the directrix. Well, we know that our vertex's y value is k. And remember, the distance between here and here are the same. So if I'm on k and I go down to my directrix, that would be k minus p. Now, axis of symmetry is one you are familiar with probably from Algebra 2. The axis of symmetry goes right through the vertex, and it's a vertical line, so it's going to be x equals h. So sometimes parabolas open up, sometimes they open down. The way that you're going to tell if they open up or down is from the letter P. So if P is greater than 0, so if P is a positive number, that's when your parabola is going to open up. And whenever P is a negative number, P is less than 0, meaning it's negative, that's when your parabola is going to open down. Now in Algebra 2, you probably focused on these parabolas, opening up and opening down. But parabolas can also open to the side, left and right. I mean, look at your little patty paper. There's your parabola. Just rotate it. It's still a parabola, right? I mean, it is what it is. Still a parabola. Now, you might say, well, Ms. Collier, why didn't we really look at those in Algebra 2? Remember, Algebra 2 was concentrated on functions. Does this guy pass the vertical line test? No. So sideways parabolas are not functions. So you didn't really study too much about them because you were focusing on functions, and these guys aren't functions. But when we look at it from a geometry standpoint, these are just as good as the other ones. So we're going to look at the sideways ones too. So we're going to call these our horizontal parabolas. So they're going to open right or left. So the equation here is going to be a little bit different. Our equation is going to be y minus k, that quantity squared, equals 4p times the quantity x minus h. So look here that the squared is with the y. So the y is getting squared. So again, we want to go through each thing. Vertex, focus, directrix, axis of symmetry. Our vertex is still HK. Right? So our vertex is still going to be given by the ordered pair HK. That part's not going to change. Our focus, so just about we're looking this way. So here's our vertex, and our focus is here. So do you see that now our focus is going to be H plus P? And then the K value is going to stay the same, because this time the vertex and the focus, they're the same height. And then our directrix is now going to be a vertical line instead of a horizontal line. So our directrix is going to be x equals h minus p. And whereas our axis of symmetry is now a horizontal line, So our axis of symmetry is now y equals k. And how are we going to know if it opens to the right or to the left? The P is going to tell us that. So if P is greater than 0, if P is positive, your parabola opens to the right. And when P is less than 0, when P is negative, your parabola opens to the left. All right, so turn and talk to your partner about the 4 pieces of that equation. Turn and talk in your teams.
And it's easy to know if it's vertical going up or down.
Is the axis of symmetry horizontal?
Basically, it's the same thing. Positive, it's going to go the right direction. Negative, it's vertical. Same one, open to the sides.
Like this equation. This is the equation here. And this. Oh yeah, that's just this.
I know. I was near my place of work, and then I just like the math on the top of my book.
I know the brain weight can only study one year.
Okay, and the axis of symmetry is the opposite of the direction.
Last one, college. So basically, you're just doing nothing right now.
All right. So this is going to be your assignment, and this is also written on Canvas, but you're going to turn this in on Monday. So you're going to do these problems on notebook paper, not in your journal, so that you can turn them in. It's going to be on your online textbook. If you forgot the name of it, it's McGraw-Hill. It's a red icon with white letters. And you've got 10 problems. 3 through 9 are the same directions. Then 29 through 35 are different directions. And then these 2 are with a graph. All right. So I'm going to do one like this and one like this with you right now in your notebook. Then you'll have those to refer to do your assignment. All right. So let's start with problem 1 out of the book, which says this. X minus 3 squared equals 12 times y minus 7. So it gives you an equation. Guys in the back, can you see okay? Whenever I'm under the dot cam, if it's too small or you need me to zoom in, just shout at me, wave at me. So they give you this equation and they ask you to find the vertex, the focus, the axis of symmetry, and the directrix, and then they want you to graph it. So that's what the instructions say to do. All right. So the vertex, well, first of all, I want to look at this and I want to say, is this a up and down, or is this a right and left guy? So what is getting squared?
It's run up and down.
The x is squared, so it's a up and down. Okay? So I'm going to be looking at my notes for the up and down type. Okay? So my vertex is HK, x minus h, y minus k. So my vertex is just 3, 7. Because the minus is part of the equation. Now my focus is h, which is 3, and then it's k plus p. So now I got to come figure out what p is. So you see this 12 right here? That 12 is equal to 4p according to the equation. So then if you divide both sides by 4, p is equal to 3. And so my focus is at k plus p. 7 plus 3 is 10. So my axis of symmetry, if this is a vertical up and down parabola, my axis of symmetry is a vertical line. So it's x equals 3. And then my directrix is a horizontal line, and my directrix is k minus p. So my k is 7, and my p is 3, so my directrix is y equals 4. So now I'm going to come put all that on the graph. I'm going to go to 3, 7. That's my vertex right there. Is this parabola going to open up or down? What's at my p? My p's positive, right? So it's going to open up, like so. My focus is at 310. So there's my focus right there. And your focus is always inside your parabola. So that's another way for you to know that it's going to open up, because the focus is in the inside. My axis of symmetry is right here. See, there's my line x equals 3. See how I'm passing through 3 on the x-axis? And then my directrix is right here at y equals 4. So if I'm on my vertex, I go 3 units up to get to my focus. I go 3 units down to get to my directrix. It's just like that piece of patty paper that you folded the tick mark to the focus. The vertex was right halfway. All right? Everybody in your team take one of these and explain it to the rest of the team.
So the negative doesn't even matter. So for 8, whenever we find h, negative 3 doesn't matter. Because I noticed oh, because that will cancel out with the square. So I was a little confused on that.
So the equation is x minus 8. So that minus is part of the equation, so the h is just a 3.
Okay.
Now if you had a plus 3, you have to think of it as x minus negative 3. So if it's a plus, then the h is actually negative.
Oh, okay. So it says flip flop. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, just plug them in, and then what I know is, so then you do 12 divided by 4, and then you use that. And at the axis of symmetry,
X equals y.
or 3. Sorry, I was looking at the direction is P, correct?
Y equals K
I can put these in. 7.
No, we're late. My mom said that I was because if she said
All right, so now we're going to put another one in your notebook. This time we're going to do number 27. All right, so number 27 from the textbook says this. It says the focus is at 2, -1, and the vertex is at -4, -1, and the instructions are for you to write the equation and do a graph. Well, even though the instructions say write an equation and graph comes second, I think it's easiest if you start the graph off first. So I have a vertex at -4, -1. -4, -1. That's my vertex. And then I have my focus at 2, -1. So is this going up, down, left, right? What's it doing?
Right.
So the focus is inside the parabola, right? So can you see that this guy has to come this way? So to me, when you graph it, that's the best place to start, because when you graph your vertex and your focus, you'll be able to see automatically which way it's opening. So if this is a left-right, a horizontal type, then I need to use that kind of equation. So that kind of equation says y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h squared.
Is that just one square?
Oh, this should not be squared. Thank you so much. Alright, so now I can plug h and k directly in here. Here's my vertex. This is h, this is k. So if I directly substitute, it's y minus -1 squared equals 4p times x minus -4. So again, you're just doing a substitution. Here was k, k was -1. Here was h, h was -4. Just substituting the vertex on in there. So if you subtract a negative, that's +1. And if you subtract a negative, that's going to be x plus 4. So you see, when you have a plus sign here, this says y plus 1 and x plus 4, but your vertex was at -4, -1. Well, now we have to figure out what p is. So again, go back to when you were physically folding that parabola, okay? So every time you folded, you were cutting this distance in half, and p is this distance in here, the distance between the vertex and the focus. So here's my vertex. How far is it from my vertex to my focus? What is this distance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right? P equals 6. From the vertex to the focus, it's a positive 6. We're opening to the right. P is positive. So my final equation, y plus 1 squared equals 24 x plus 4. The 24 comes from 4 times 6 equals 24. So there's my equation, and there's my sketch. All right, turn and talk to your team about this problem.
Makes a lot of sense. And then we get p, we just count it. Yeah. And then you basically find
Yeah, you told me last time. Not every day, but like
All right. So let's just look up here. Guys, I want you to get in the habit of using your Canvas page, especially if you are absent. Okay? Please don't come back and Miss Collier, I was absent for 3 days. What did I miss? No. It's all going to be on Canvas. Okay? If you're absent, especially if you're absent for more than 1 day, don't come back here 3 days behind. Look on Canvas, watch the videos, learn. I expect you to be a little bit behind. You might need some help. You might need to come to tutoring and catch up if you missed multiple days. But don't just come here and not have done anything. So this is the video with that narrator with the computer animation. This is the video with the weird math teacher actually cutting stuff with a knife. So if you kind of want to go back, you're like, yeah, I was like brain dead watching that video, didn't really sink in, you can go back and watch them. This is another teacher explaining exactly what we did with the patty paper, in case you want to like try it at home. Here's our 4 main vocabulary words. The examples in the notes, I'll upload that this evening. Sometimes I record in different periods. Sometimes I forget to record. I just recorded this, so I'll upload those. And then here's your assignment from your textbook. All right? Now, I know some of you don't like that online textbook. If you want to grab a book and take a picture of the page, feel free to do that. I know some of you like a lot better to just be working off of that. If you want to stop you.